Have you ever felt, well, stuck? Like you're just waiting for the world to change, for things to get a little easier, or for that one big break to finally show up? Today, we are diving deep into the philosophy of Jim Rohn, a guy who had a powerful idea that the key to unlocking your better future isn't out there somewhere. It's inside you. Let's get into it.
Okay, so this right here, this is the absolute core of Rohn's entire philosophy. It's such a simple sentence, but man, is it profound. He basically argued that waiting for the economy or the government or just your circumstances to change is a total losing game. The only variable you have complete control over is yourself. So, the hard truth is, if your life isn't changing, it's probably because you aren't.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to say, hey, you've got to change, but it's a whole other thing to actually know how. It can feel massive, overwhelming. Like, where in the world do you start when you want to totally transform your life? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Rohn really understood that feeling of being stuck. I mean, he lived it. Before he found success, he had this huge list of excuses for why he wasn't doing well. His whole strategy was just, I sure hope things will change. That was it. But then he had this huge realization about the world. This slide just captures his point perfectly. For thousands of years of recorded history, it's been the same story, right? The tide comes in, the tide goes out. The sun sets, and then it rises again. Opportunity is always going to be mixed with difficulty. These patterns are fixed. So Ron's point was, hoping for these basic patterns of life to change for you is just pointless. The only way your life changes is when you change. So, if you can't change the world, what can you change? This is Ron's big solution. It's about a radical shift in where you put your effort. See, most of us focus all our energy on our job, our daily tasks, the grind. Ron suggested something different, something way more powerful. And boom, this lays it all out. When you only work on your job, you're just trading your time for money. And hey, there are only so many hours in a day, right? So your income is always going to have a ceiling. You make a living. But when you work on yourself, your skills, your mindset, your knowledge, you stop getting paid for time. You start getting paid for the value you bring. And your value, well, that's unlimited. And that's how you build a fortune. So what even is this value we're talking about? It's everything that makes you, you. Your skills, your attitude, your creativity, your discipline, how well you communicate. You can't just magically create more time, but you can always become more valuable. So the big question to ask at work isn't, what am I getting here? It's, who am I becoming here? Because what you become is what determines what you get. This quote was the single greatest piece of advice Rohn's mentor ever gave him. This is the secret sauce. If you're going to spend 8 hours a day working hard on your job, you have to make sure you're also investing time reading, studying, learning to work on yourself. That's the investment that pays the biggest returns, hands down. Okay, so we get it. We need to work on ourselves. But how do we deal with all the ups and downs that life is guaranteed to throw at us? For this, Rohn had this really beautiful and super practical metaphor, the 4 seasons of life. This framework is just so good. First, you got to learn to handle the winters. Those are the hard times, the disappointments, the recessions. You can't get rid of winter, but you can use it to get stronger, wiser, and just plain better. Second, you have to seize the springs. When opportunity comes knocking, you have to be ready to plant. Third, you protect your garden in the summer. Weeds and pests are going to show up, You have to defend your progress. And fourth, you reap your harvest in the fall without complaining if you did poorly and without apologizing if you did well. You take full responsibility, period. And that's really the whole idea in a nutshell. Life, just like the seasons, has these predictable cycles of good times and bad. You can't stop winter from coming, but you can change yourself to prepare for it, to get through it, and maybe even to thrive because of it. Your life gets better by personal change, not by some random stroke of luck. This is one of Rohn's most famous lines, and it just perfectly captures the whole spirit of the 4 seasons. Instead of wishing your life was easier, put that energy into becoming better. Go get the skills you need to handle the problems. Go get the wisdom you need to overcome the challenges. Now that is real power. Okay, so we've got the philosophy, we've got the mindset. Now, how do we turn all of this talk into a real, concrete plan? Rohn was a big believer that real change starts with having powerful reasons and super clear goals. So let's look at the blueprint. Now this is a huge insight. So many people get stuck looking for the how-to before they've even figured out their why. Rohn's point was that if your list of reasons, your motivation, is strong enough, you will absolutely find the answers. Life just has this funny way of showing the how to people who are fired up about their why.
So, what are your reasons? Rohn suggested designing your life by setting goals in 3 key areas. First, your economic goals. Get specific about the income you want, the profits you want to make. Second, things. And don't be shy about it. List the stuff you want, big and small. It's fun to check things off. And third, and this is the most important one, your personal development goals. Who do you want to become? What skills do you want to learn? This is the category that powers all the others.
Rohn also pinpointed 4 really powerful emotions that are often the spark for massive change. The first one is disgust. That day you finally just say, "That's it, I've had it, I am not living like this anymore." The second is decision. That moment the battle inside your head finally ends and you just commit. The third is desire, that deep, burning want for something better that gets sparked inside you. And last, resolve. That's when you promise yourself, "I will do this or I will die trying." That's a serious force.
So, as we start to wrap this all up, you can see how all these ideas, working on yourself, the seasons, setting goals, they all point back to one single, undeniable truth. Look, bad stuff happens to everybody. It rains on the rich and it rains on the poor. Disappointment isn't some special gift saved for just a few of us. The key thing to get is that the events of our lives aren't what really shape us. What shapes us is how we respond. It's what you do about what happens that makes all the difference in the world. And this story just illustrates that shift perfectly. For years, Rohn blamed everyone and everything for his lack of success. His list of excuses was a mile long. But his mentor, a guy named Earl Shoah, looked at that list and just delivered this knockout punch. He said, "There's a big problem with your list. You ain't on it." That was the day Rohn tore up his excuse list and started a new one with just one word on it: me. And that's the bottom line. That's the ultimate takeaway. It's not the economy, it's not your boss, it's not your circumstances. The major key, the number one driver, the person at the steering wheel of your life is you. So as we end here, I'm going to leave you with the same challenge that Rohn would, because it's not enough to just hear these ideas. The real question is, what are you going to do? Starting tomorrow, what is one small thing you will do differently to start working harder on yourself than you do on your job and begin building the future that you really, truly deserve?